Hello, friends, and welcome to the most glorious of events, the Movie Mavericks podcast. This outstanding program is hosted by two fine gentlemen, Jason and Trevor. Now make it so.
MovieMavericks.com.
Hey, now everybody, welcome to episode 388 of the Movie Mavericks podcast. I'm Trevor Anderson. Send you over to Jason Rugard. He's got a rundown for us.
Hey guys, on tonight's episode, we are going to be talking about the latest Netflix release starring Gal Gadot, the new Ninja Turtles movie.
Gadot, excuse you.
I'll Gadot on her all day.
That was the big reveal, wasn't it? Yeah. Was it her name's actually pronounced Gadot?
I like Gal Gadot better, though. It sounds a little bit more regal. Mm-hmm. Also, we're talking about the new Transformers movie, Transformers 7 or Transformers Rise of the Beast, however you may take it.
I wish it was Rise of the Beach.
It would have been a much farther interesting movie.
Rise of the Bitches is what it should be.
And we're going to also talk about Shazam 2, the latest from the DC canon that did not do so well, but is available on HBO Max. We saw that one. And trailers tonight for the John Wick extension series called The Continental, the new film from Rogue One director Gareth Edwards called The Creator, as well as The Equalizer Part 3, Dune Part 2, and a horror film you may not know about called Slotherhouse. So, is it Slotherhouse? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Slotherhouse. I think it's a play on Slaughterhouse.
It's a horror film that has a sloth in it. So if that's something that interests you, hang around to the end of the episode and we'll get into that.
That's scary.
When you said that to me and said, check a look at this trailer, I was like, it's only a minute long. And then I saw the concept and was like, oh, it supports 1 minute. So we'll talk about this a little bit in detail. Well, let's do a little trivia like we always do. You have it already queued up in advance of this. What is the first
Yeah, we're going to do
question?
one out of the book here. So we have a question says, bounty hunter Robert De Niro must dodge mob bullets while transporting criminal Charles Grodin in this 1988 comedy. Really? I'm not going to read the things.
Yeah, we know what this is. This is Midnight Run. Let's do it again. Let's go again.
That was a bit easy.
Well, here's the trivia question: who directed it?
Midnight Run? I don't know actually.
It's Martin Brest. It's his follow-up film to Beverly Hills Cop. Martin Brest, whose career was unfortunately derailed by making the great film Meet Joe Black, which was just shit on when it came out.
Yeah, that is a good movie, actually.
What do you got there?
It's very long, though. So
it is long, but it is good.
All right. In For Love of the Game, Jane asks, what if my face was all scraped off and I was totally disfigured and had no arms and legs and I was completely paralyzed? Would you still love me? What is Billy's response? What? I never remember this part.
It was in the trailer.
Was it?
This was in the trailer. I can't remember what he said until you say it, but it was in the trailer.
Here we go. Okay. A, can I get back to you on that one? B, yeah, but sex would be out of the question. C, no, but I'll love you until the day comes. D, no, but we could still be friends. It's got to be B, right?
I want to say it's the last one you just said.
No, but we could still be friends?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they missed on it being B then. Yeah, you're right.
I swear that was in the trailer.
Should have been, yeah, but sex would be out of the question. Come on, whoever wrote this question outdid the script writer.
Yeah, and that was a pretty good movie, too. I liked For Love of the Game.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I got a question.
A Sam Raimi movie. Okay, that's why I know some things.
And it's got John C. Reilly in a great little performance in that movie, too.
It does, as the catcher. Yeah, he is really good. Yeah.
Unsung in that movie. And a grisly injury sequence when Costner hurts himself cutting wood.
Yeah.
That's where Sam Raimi's horror chops come out during that sequence, where you're like, oh, this got a lot darker than this little light romantic comedy or sports fantasy that we were watching.
I mean, I guess that movie, like most what makes Sam Raimi good is that he puts his fingerprints on movies, and especially the pitching scenes and stuff in that movie are very Sam Raimi, but they're really good.
Even the structure of the story I enjoyed quite a bit, and how that was told.
Yeah, it's a different structure than you'd normally get. I think maybe that's why it wasn't so hot, but I don't know.
I think it's undervalued and overlooked. Okay, so the question I have for you, I got a trivia question tonight. What Patrick Swayze film was originally supposed to star Kevin Sorbo? I can't speak on the man's name here. It just
Kevin
pains
Sorbo.
Me. Kevin Sorbo of television's Hercules was going to be in a movie, but he had to, give up his role because he got, I think, was it a stroke he had? Some sort of aneurysm?
Yeah, he had a stroke at one point. He also blew out his back at one point, but I think this was...
Predates
maybe that was
that.
the same thing, issue.
It might be, yeah. So this was in the late 90s, if that
Although
gives you a
sure.
hint.
Yeah, I obviously the only guess that I would have would be Black Dog, because that's the only thing I could think of that Kevin Sorbo would have worked in.
Yeah, that's right.
Patrick Swayze movie around that time.
You're correct, yeah. And I don't know if it would have done any better if it had Sorbo. Do you think it would have performed any better than it did? Because it bombed.
I think it's a good Patrick Swayze movie, actually. I mean, it did bomb, but I think it's a good movie. And it works because he's in it. That's one of those things where you just couldn't see someone else in that movie, and I don't think Sorbo would have been very good in it.
Sorbo had a 3-picture deal with Universal. He did Cole the Conqueror, and then he got injured or had the stroke, and so he had to drop out of that project. To me, Black Dog was always a second-tier action movie of that era, along the lines of Fled
100%.
Or Chill Factors, those kind of second-tier action movies.
But that's where Swayze was at that point, up until the end of his career, really.
Unfortunate, right? Because he was a huge star coming off Ghost and Point Break, Dirty Dancing. I mean, he had a great run there for a while.
I mean, everything. I saw Kevin Sorbo, and he did talk about that a little bit, maybe 10 years ago I saw him. And I know that he had mentioned this. I don't remember him saying Black Dog, but he must have. But he had talked about how it must have been kind of a blessing in disguise, because he got that Andromeda show not but a couple years later. So, and he couldn't, if he hadn't have been out of that deal and making those movies, I'm sure he wouldn't have been able to get that show.
And that show ran for years, that Andromeda show, right?
5 seasons, so ran pretty good.
That's long enough. That's for sure. I mean, I think I've seen one episode of that show. Have you seen the whole series?
I am a huge fan. I own it, yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's very Star Trek-like, but not really. It's like a sci-fi-ish channel show.
Which
back when they still made stuff.
To me, those are the kind of shows that would come on a Saturday afternoon, like Beastmaster, that show, Relic
It's
Hunter.
very similar to that, yeah. Yeah, it's a Gene Roddenberry thing, so it's very Star Trek-esque, but it's not at all.
Oh, I didn't know
Star Trek.
Roddenberry actually put his hands on that project, or
yeah. Well, I don't know how much he did.
But he was in name only. Was he passed away already at that point?
That's what I was trying to think. Was he already dead?
Was it based on an idea he had? Some sort of.
Oh yeah, for sure. So it's based on unused material, but it was developed by other people. So he must have been.
And he was gone.
Dead by then. When did he pass away?
I want to say the early 90s.
I know, right? When was this? Yeah, 1991. So he was definitely. I don't know why we had to read that. We both just agreed that he died in the 90s. But, I mean, yeah, because I remember the Next Generation thing. They were like, how are we going to go on with this? And they did just fine. But yeah, Andromeda was good. I liked it.
Well, I did all right on the trivia tonight. Not a bad night of trivia there, although I think the first one was a bit of a gimme on the Gene Roddenberry one. I did hear an interesting bit of trivia, although it's television trivia, and I don't know if you know this, because I was blown away by this trivia, that could be true at all. You ready for this?
All right.
Which one of the Golden Girls served in the Marine Corps?
What the hell's her name? Dorothy, right?
Yeah, B. Arthur.
Thank you, B. Arthur. God, I couldn't remember her name. Yeah, I just, I mean, that pops up every once in a while. And I think I just saw it on a meme or something on social media. That's a really fairly common trivia question.
Oh, is it really? Yeah,
or a piece of trivia, I guess I should say.
I happened to stumble upon it when I was doing some reading, and it was television.
On the shitter? Yeah.
Yeah, basically. It was good shitter knowledge. But yeah, I mean, I thought you guessed her because she was the most masculine of all the ladies there.
No, I mean, I literally also just, I knew that from before because I've seen it before, but it's not really like a meme, but you know how they post those trivia things? It's like with a picture and then they'll have the text over it. It'll just be like trivia. that goes around every once in a while. I see it, and I just saw it like, oh God, I don't know, like a week ago or so. So maybe we saw the same thing.
Well, here's something that's equally mind-blowing. When that show started, the youngest member was Rue McClanahan, who played
right
the slutty character. What was her name? Was it Rose?
No,
I can't think of her name. Blanche.
Blanche, thank
Blanche,
you.
yeah. And do you know
I
how...
watch the show a lot, so makes it difficult.
Just to show you how times have changed and how people, I guess, age better now. Do you know how old she was when that show started?
Oh, all of them were relatively young, right? I mean, the mom, what's her name, was younger than
Dorothy.
B. Arthur, right?
But Rue McClanahan was the youngest on the show.
I don't know, weren't they? She was like in her 50s, I think.
51.
Yeah.
To put that into perspective, Jennifer Lopez is 51.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. Yeah, no, there's some fuckery going on with the women out there, because I don't know how Kate Beckinsale looks like that. I like some, people have been saying that they're eating like babies, and I believe it at this point, because how do they all look so good?
Well, let them continue, as far as I'm concerned.
Sacrifice the children.
Nobody's missing the kids.
I don't know, man. People are just, I guess they just know or are more capable of being healthier now, or it's probably just more in fashion, really. And
the TVs are HD now, so you know that they are way more concerned with upkeep. And, and all
what?
That.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, they can't hide with shadows and lightings like they could in the 70s and 80s.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, Golden Girls was shot on video. I don't think it was shot on film. So yeah, they could totally fake the age on that pretty easily. But they also looked like older women. And like we're talking about, older women now don't look like older women. They look like they're 20 years younger.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Particularly like when you say some of those names that you said, Sandra Bullock, you can include in there, Julia Roberts.
I can keep going. Yeah,
it's
insane. It's very interesting. But it must just be the health is catching up to us. They say like we're going to see people live to like 150 within our lifetime and stuff. And it's probably true, I guess, because, look around at the rich people. They're looking pretty good.
We're turning into the movie Elysium. I swear. That's what's happening here. All right, let's talk about the movies that we've seen this week. We got a few to go over, a couple of new ones there, and a fairly older one. Let's start off by talking about Transformers Rise of the Beast. This is Transformers 7, if you're counting, or Transformers 2, if you're going off the soft reboot, because this is technically a sequel to 2018's Bumblebee. Briefly, I thought that the last one, Bumblebee, was a little bit more entertaining. I didn't find much to like in this new Transformers. I thought it was very stiff. I thought it was very unfocused on what was happening here. I thought that the pandering to my generation and your generation with these needless needle drops that added nothing to the movie other than to tell me that we're supposed to be liking it because it's got familiar music that I grew up with. This movie made me yearn for the days of Michael Bay behind the camera. I'm not sure why we've lambasted him, because I don't think this is too far from what he was accomplishing, although arguably it's less artfully done. And really the biggest surprise to me, spoiler alert here, is that the G.I. Joe franchise is being intertwined here. But I ultimately can't recommend this movie. I thought that it looked professionally done with the CGI and what it was showing me, but I'm so far removed about giving a shit about these Transformers now and the gorillas and the Optimus Alpha or whatever the fuck is going on here. We're in the weeds with this stuff now, and I give up. I just give up on this. I do. I give up on the franchise. I really do. I did. Outside of that one chase sequence with the bridge, I didn't think much was to recommend here.
I mean, I don't know how to tell you that, but this is just nothing. You're not giving up on anything, because this is quite literally nothing. This is for children. It plays like it's for children. It's written like it's for children. And it's just a straight Transformers movie, but with no heart, with no anything. And people loved it. Of course they did. Because, you just turn your mind off and play a Transformers movie, and there's robots fighting, and it delivers all that, and absolutely not an iota more. And it's just noise. It's useless. It's not good. Like Bumblebee was actually pretty good. for what it was. And it wasn't a very different movie than this. So I don't know why they've gone off the rails here. And the G.I. Joe stuff is just, my God, it's a joke. I mean, look what Mattel thinks they're about to have a fucking, windfall with their IP because of the Barbie did so well. Remember when fucking Hasbro?
Yeah.
Bro, they're still over here struggling with Transformers movies and fucking G.I. Joe. Get out of here.
I mean, Hasbro ate shit with Battleship back in 2012 and a number of other things that didn't ever take off. And this Transformers thing is, they just kicked the shit out of Michael Bay for so long on his films. And I got to agree, the last one he did, The Last Night, is very jumbled and it's all over the place. But
bro, the first 3 Transformers movies are fucking awesome.
Fantastic. And those are the kind of experiences you're talking about, where you turn your mind off, but there's something to grab onto.
Those have a plot, those have a script, those have people who are acting, who are emoting, who are doing all this. That's why I would say Bumblebee had that as well.
Yeah.
The Mark Wahlberg one less. I really don't think he was very good in that movie, and that was just an overall kind of a crap movie. But I don't know, man. Like, who you cast and the story. The stories are all basically the fucking same, right? Person finds Transformers, fun ensues. That's fucking it. So I don't know how you fuck this up, but it's just like, this is one of the most uninteresting Transformers movies, right? This has to be the worst one by far.
Which is why I think it's one of the shortest as well, if not the shortest, because there's just nothing, there's no meat on the bone.
It felt long as shit, man. I mean, it's over 2 hours. It felt long, especially by the time they got to that last battle sequence. It's just like, who gives a fuck?
It's
taking forever.
Like I said, I thought the high point of this was the chase sequence on the bridge, and outside of that, didn't find much to just latch on to. There's no interesting character here. Like you said, there's no real acting.
There's almost nothing to critique. There's just it's literally nothing. I don't even know what you would, if you went through this, video piece by piece and critiqued it, or not the video, but the movie, and you just wind up just saying what happens in the movie. There's like nothing to critique. Like what happens in this movie? What are the setups and payoffs? What are the stakes? Are the moments? Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, that's why I'm saying the fucking ending is boring as shit by the time you get to it. It's confusing. It incorporates everything that the other movies have, but like I said, with no heart. Like, I have no feeling towards anyone in this movie.
It reminds me of the old motto when they were developing sequels back in the day, which was similar but different. And that's exactly what this is.
That's the motto in general. That's the motto of movies in general. So that's what people want.
Yeah, but
this isn't similar but different, though. This is just more of the same. I mean, literally, this is like cookie cutter. This is
less artistry.
That's the difference, right? We're talking about cookie cutter things. Well, people try to say cookie cutter back in the fucking 90s and the 2000s. Those people are must be rolling over in their graves. I don't know, those people are probably all dead, but those were all the old people, right? They don't make movies like they used to, but you talk about cookie cutter stuff, like, I just don't even give a shit when this is released. That's what this is, and that's the problem right now in general with the movies they're making, and why no one's going to watch them.
Well, also, do you have anybody in this movie that you're relating to on any level? No. There's no identifiable human character in here that I even gave a shit about. Where at least in the last one, they had the Shia LaBeouf character, the Megan Fox character. There was investment in that relationship and those people. And then even the Mark Wahlberg one to a lesser extent. But these, now that you've taken Haley Steinfeld out of it from the last movie, now I'm situated with
she's too big to be in this shit for sure.
But this guy can act. I've seen him in in the Heights movie. I know he can act and he's talented, but here he's rendered just charisma free.
It's not the actor's fault. Yeah, no, it's whoever wrote this, whoever put this together, because this isn't, as you say, it's minus the artistry. That's exactly what it is, right? This is a corporate cash grab.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I'm surprised this did as well as it did.
Well, or the other thing is that this is just for little kids. Take your kids to it; they'll love this. No one's going to care. And if you just really want to turn your brain off and not really think about anything, but just see cool special effects and things, well, then I guess this movie's for you. But beyond that, I don't know. what rewatchability this has, if any.
I don't think it has
unless you're 5.
I would say save your time and rewatch the first one, which is a gem. It's a good movie. People
First,
forget.
second, and third. The third, I think, is the best of the bunch.
I do too, but I think the first one you have to see to even get to that third one. I think
you got to see the second too. You got to see you got all 3 of them to build to the third to get to that really good stuff. Yeah.
The second is definitely the weakest of that original trilogy, but it's still above what we've been given here, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move on and talk about another film, a sequel here, a corporate cash grab, in my opinion, and that's Shazam 2, the sequel to the well-received, well-grossing original, and I really like. I give the original 3.5 out of 4 stars. I really got behind it. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did, and I fell for it. I was charmed by it.
So differences.
What is going on in this sequel? I don't.
Yeah, what's the difference? What is this one missing?
Something. I can't. I don't know. Is it?
It has all the same characters. Oh, I know exactly what it is.
Are they just too old now? In that the charm is gone.
There's too many fucking characters. Who's the star of this movie? Because it ain't Shazam.
It's family.
Who the fuck is it? I don't know. Yeah, no shit. So fucking where's Vin Diesel? You know, at least Vin Diesel knows he's the fucking star of Fast and Furious, and you fucking know it too. He'll talk about family all day long, but he's the goddamn star.
True.
This movie just feels like half the time we meet up with Shazam, he's just doing something else, and everybody else can be doing something different, and this and that. It's just kind of like jumbled. It's not cohesive in any way. There's too many fucking main characters.
It's also felt like it was setting up spin-offs in future worlds that are never going to come now.
Yep.
And so it felt like we were setting the table for something that we're never going to see, that we know we're never going to see. So now why am I investing in any of these people in any of these circumstances that they find themselves in when we already know what the preordained outcome is going to be?
The movie's called Shazam. You can have the other characters in there as, extra characters, but it's called Shazam. It should be about Shazam. It shouldn't be about these 3 other female characters, whatever, the daughters of this thing. They show up and then they have a whole fucking story, and then the girl falls in like it's. This is a movie where it's time for everyone else to shine too. No, there's no fucking time for that. I don't care. The movie's 2 hours long. We don't have time for everyone to shine. No. If you want to do Fast and Furious, everyone gets a fucking one-liner. Okay.
Which is what this movie doesn't have the deftness to pull off at all, because it's not built for that. This is a movie that typically is going to be a very straightforward action fantasy superhero film. And you have a hero who's constantly battling with his own confidence, who's constantly in a state of crisis of faith. And I find him to be annoying in this movie. Whereas in the first one, I found his open, wide enthusiasm, like I said, charming. And this time I felt he's kind of annoying as a character.
Well, the self-defeatist and the wallowing, and you'll see when you watch Guardians, and if you haven't noticed it this year or last year, that is the thing right now that is going around, and it's infecting all the movies, and I've always hated it when they do that.
Yeah.
There's a reason Ghostbusters 2 wasn't well received, and if anyone can go back and figure that out, oh yeah, I know why. It's because no one wants to start the movie out with people being shit on.
Yeah, it's true. Look at Rocky V, the same way. You don't want to see Rocky broken back in where he started. You want to see that he's made progress. If your heroes fall, you want to see them get back up, but you don't want to see them in shit places.
Right? Indiana Jones, right? We go on and on with the list of all these movies that have done this. And so, yeah, this one wasn't quite as bad, but he was aimless. They didn't give him enough of anything to do, I felt. So it might as well have been the same thing.
Doesn't it also feel small and cheap as well, in a weird way? That this movie felt very like they cut the budget somewhere. It felt like they lost
isn't enough
faith
going on
in this movie at some point during the process. Is how the end product felt to me.
No shit, probably with test audiences. The thing's a fucking mess.
Yeah, it is all over the place, and I don't know why Zachary Levi was on Rogan bitching about he didn't understand why this didn't take off and X, Y, and Z, and it's like, come on, man, did you see the fucking product?
We have the new thing from him is that you shouldn't, vote with your wallet. Don't pay for these movies because they're making shit right now. It's like, well, that's what happened to your movie, my friend.
Yeah, sir. Did you look in the mirror as well as the screen? Because
which is fine. That's exactly the advice I would give everyone too, and the advice that I'm taking. I don't watch anything anymore, and it's unfair because I do miss good things, or people tell me things are good, and I think, fuck it, I'm not going to watch it. Eat shit. Seriously, there's plenty of other things that I know I'm going to enjoy, or that I can take a better shot on than like Star Wars things, for example. I don't care how good Andor is. I'm not watching it.
I don't go into these things to shit on it. Trust me, I know we're sounding negative tonight, but when I watched this, 20 minutes into it, I thought, man, this is going to be another hour and a half here, because this is just, it's a flailing duck on screen here. And it's not the worst DC movie ever made, but it's definitely one of the most confused.
Well, it's no Black Adam.
Yeah, it's definitely true. But it's definitely a confused movie from the perspective of what they want to accomplish here. I'm not sure what the end goal was, if it was to set up a spinoff that we're never going to get, like I said, but it just, to me, was a movie that was very unfocused in what it was trying to do.
It is unfortunate, because the idea of the kid that turns into the big superhero is it's
appealing.
It's a very 90s feel. And it's retro without really having to harken back to anything. It just feels like when they used to make bigger movies for little kids, in some way. And they used to make those.
You know what?
So I miss that.
This perfectly encapsulates this to me, as now I think about it, is I loved the first Shazam. I really was charmed by it, like I said. But my fear when I saw the first Shazam was that it was going to be the movie that the second Shazam is. So as surprised I was how much I enjoyed the first one, when I was watching it, I thought, okay, this is what I expected. And it's a hell of a downfall from 1 to 2 as far as I'm concerned. It's a quick one.
I mean, you're right, but the premise for 2 wasn't set up until the end of Shazam, right? And so it's almost like as if they painted themselves into a corner.
Because they had all these people to deal with.
And now they have all these fucking superheroes. Right. And it's unrealistic. They should never have done that. Or if they did do that, it should have been temporary.
Also, these kids are aging rapidly. It's not that cute
anymore.
That it's the Stranger Things scenario.
The next, with the Stranger Things, they've gotten away with it, surprisingly enough. With this movie, it feels like if they do make a next movie, they're all going to be in college. There's no fucking way.
Absolutely. Yeah, these kids are in their mid-20s by now. But, the whole superhero moping thing, that bugged me when I first saw it. You can go back as far as Superman 2 when he wants to get rid of his powers to be with Lois. But even in Spider-Man, when he wants to not be Spider-Man anymore, and that's what kind of ruined those late Spider-Man Sam Raimi movies for me, was his constant self-wallowing, and I did this, and... enjoy it. You're a fucking superhero. I always felt
like that was even in the first one. I give a little with some of it. Like the Spider-Man movies, I think were still good, even regardless of that. You're not wrong, but that was kind of part of the first one. He always had that...
The guilt over his uncle.
Soberness, the kind of... hanging over his head in that way. So I can forgive some things for doing this, but there are other things. Like I said Ghostbusters 2, which I think is the best example of this. Mainly because it's the reason everyone hates that movie. It's not surprising. It's not hard to figure out. But they do it all the time. It's so weird to have uplifting movies and then, we need a downer for some reason. You need to shit on this guy right at the beginning, and then he can get back up through it. And you're like, well, why? Like, why is this person who's been so amazing in several movies all of a sudden is just a piece of shit? Like, what? Why?
That was a big...
Mainly it's because of a breakup at this point, because they do that a lot with these movies.
I mean, to exemplify that, a big trope and one that had that exact breakup motif, look at the beginning of Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance. I mean, we pick up with Bruce Willis when he's hungover, he's single, he hasn't talked to his kids or his wife, that whole thing, and he's at the lowest point. You're thinking, like, well, what happened? We just saw him walk off at the end of Die Hard 2 with the wife, and he's the hero again and everything. And now...
I was going to say, that's a good one.
Yeah, so...
That's a good example.
Thank you.
I don't know why they want to reset it like that so many times. It's just... It's bad. There's zero reason for doing that. Like, that just means you don't think you can one-up yourself, so you got to take yourself back several steps in the beginning of the movie so you can get back to where you were at the beginning, at the end of the last movie. No, come on, God.
It's lazy writing is what it is. It's just being unimaginative on how to start your screenplay of the new adventure. But I will say I do respect that back in the day we used to get sequels that were standalone entries. I miss those days when it wasn't so episodic.
Yeah, that's when things were better.
When something was episodic, or if a sequel even made reference to a previous sequel, it was typically a throwaway line or a piece of prop in a scene. Where that's the thing from the previous one. Or
episodic. Well, depends on what you mean by episodic, I guess. Most episodic things tend to be pretty standalone, especially when it comes to movies. It's only as of recently that they tied everything together, because they're taking one movie now, one idea, and they're trying to stretch it across either an entire show, right, or several movies. And that was never meant to be like that. You know, you have a new idea, it furthers the movie along, you make that one episode thing, and you do that. And so you can do that in episodes. You can have a long arc if you want to, but you fucking have a whole episode unto itself.
I mean, it reminds me, I've told this story on the podcast before, so excuse me if you've heard it before, and I'm going to mention in our film school days, so if you're drinking along with, the podcast, I'm mentioning film school, so drink up, because we do this, we talk about our film school stuff a lot, but... Do you recall when we were in school and we were pitching ideas to a teacher in a class, and the kid said, I remember this kid couldn't even explain his idea. And then he said, well, it's a trilogy. And the teacher said, whoa. You don't have enough idea for a movie. How do you have it for 3 movies? And that's what I think about sometimes, is that
the Lord of the fucking Rings.
That was the Lord of the Rings days when everybody thought they had a trilogy.
Everyone was making a trilogy. Yeah. Everyone.
But at the same time, the principle applies still, where these people don't really have an idea that is fruitful enough to be expanded to these lengths in most cases, as far as I'm concerned. So you get a lot of filler.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
A lot of filler, a lot of extra action sequences.
That's a big problem.
All that shit.
Well, back in the day, you used to have real episodic things. Like back when they were making, 22 episode seasons, 24 episode seasons, 26 sometimes. Hey, you'd get what you would assume would be filler episodes, but they were sometimes really fucking good. Mainly because they didn't move forward the long arc, but they were in and of themselves a good idea for that episode. They were a complete thought. They weren't like beginning, a middle, and end, and a beginning in one fucking movie, a middle in another fucking movie, and an end in another movie. That's one fucking movie. Like, what's wrong with you people?
Do you know what I saw recently? Because we were watching some old episodes of Friends, some other old dramas, some Magnum PI episodes. One is that on the filler, the drama, the nighttime hour dramas, when they'd have a filler episode, it usually would center on a side character. They would get a turn to be the lead for that episode.
Sometimes, yeah.
If it was a sitcom, it typically was a clip show episode where they would have that vague storyline, but they would use it as a reason to flash back to the previous.
Sometimes. I mean, those are terrible.
Those were huge in sitcoms back in the day. You'd have at least 2 of those per season in the later seasons of shows.
But that's because you didn't own it, and you could only see it.
Yeah,
when it was on TV, so right? Clip shows worked. They served a purpose.
Absolutely, and it was nobody watched every episode of a show. It just was unheard of, unless it was your favorite show ever.
No, well, I mean, you couldn't until it went into syndication. You couldn't.
Yeah, unless you had the VCR preset, and I never could figure out how to get mine.
Even that was hard. That was hard to remember to do that. Oh, I did that. We did that a couple times, but that's too difficult. And then, plus, if someone else is watching TV, then I feel like we're about to do the City Slickers bit, but it's like it's a bit much.
Yeah, and on top of it, things would switch around the schedule quite a bit. If you didn't know back in the day, things were not always on Thursday at 9. It would be then sometimes, a different day, different time.
That's why you planned your week by the TV guy.
Fucking right. All right, let's move on and talk about Heart of Stone. This is one that you caught up with on Netflix. I didn't get a chance to see this yet. Is it worth my time? I never mind watching a Gal Gadot movie.
Gadot?
Her last one with Ryan Reynolds and The Rock was so disposable. I forgot I watched it after fantastic. I watched it.
Red Light? Are you ready for the sequel?
Red Notice? I mean, it should be
Red Notice.
Red Notice.
I called it Red Light.
That should be the subtitle. Red Notice 2, Red Light. No more, please.
I don't know. I feel like I'm supposed to give this a good review because everyone really seems to like this movie, but I don't know what the hell they like about it. It's not good. They almost sell her as a Lara Croft-ish James Bond. Like, she's very good at everything that she does, but through half the movie, she's pretending to not be good. Like, she's undercover in this MI6 group, and she's like, not the field agent. She's like the Tom Arnold person in the van. So she's not supposed to be good at all this stuff, but so she's running around, and then they have the heart thing or whatever, which is like this fucking AI thing. And then it tells her what to do with the help of the people that work there. And then she can do a bunch of James Bond shit really coolly. And the people she's with don't notice because they're trying to get this fucking guy. I mean, does this already sound good?
No, I'm bored already.
And then like this, the first act is like her doing that, and then at the end of the first act they find it because they get attacked, and then she has to do her fucking kung fu shit in front of them.
This is
like,
only
oh my
the
God,
first
what are you doing?
act?
And then she's able to get this movie's fucking long as shit, man. And then actually this movie's 2 hours long, but it feels super long. Yeah, that's basically the first act, because really the inciting incident in this is that she gets found out by them. And I mean, the rest of it's just the first opening scene is just nonsense, but it's like a ski. It's very James Bond. Let's just say that.
The whole AI thing. I mean, Mission Impossible used that. I talked about it in our last podcast. Unsuccessfully.
Yeah, it's a MacGuffin, is what it is. It's just it's nothing at this point. I mean, don't think anything of it. It's just something that's controlling her. That someone else is after, and so in the end, they're trying to get the heart thing that they're using for her group. I don't remember what group she's with, but it's like I mean, her name is Stone, so I think that's where the Heart of Stone thing comes from. But so I can only imagine this is being set up for sequels. But yeah, it's just a lot of fucking nonsense, man. It's like a really bad Mission Impossible or James Bond movie is what it reminded me of. Like, there's a whole lot of exposition, and this person's getting this, and this person is trying to get that. And you're just like, but none of it fucking matters because you just made it all up.
It sounds like
it's a total MacGuffin bullshit.
Your typical
like,
Netflix type movie.
Yeah, it is really.
It could have had
It's a waste of my fucking time. It's a waste of everybody's time.
It could have had Ryan Reynolds.
I don't like it. But I'll say this about it, and this is something that I think really goes against a lot of these Netflix movies. This is a big movie. This is a big budget movie. The movie's scope, right? So, why in the fuck would you make a streaming movie with black bars at the top and the bottom? I don't fucking know. It doesn't make the fucking frame wider. So the movie's like made, and the special effects and the way it's shot and everything, it's a big budget action movie. So I agree with people. I'm a little confused. Why did we make this movie meant to be seen in a theater that will never, ever be seen in a theater?
Well, that's the Netflix motto,
and why
right?
do we think that was a good thing for Netflix? Yeah, why'd you think that'd be a good thing for Netflix, too? Like, I could understand going to a theater and watching this and being like, oh, wow, that was pretty cool. Like, at least the action scenes were cool and stuff. But at home or whatever, it's just fucking noise and nonsense and nothing. Like, I don't know. I don't know. When I watch things at home, I expect a little bit more from it. Unless I know ahead of time that it was some big action movie and I'm just going to watch a big action movie like a John Wick or something, I'm okay with that. But if it just feels like weird. Like, it's not the right place for this movie to have landed, I guess. Or at least first off.
Well, I definitely want to check it out because I'm a fan of action films, and I do like her as an action hero. I think that she's a good successor to the Angelina Jolie.
I'm interested. I don't think you'll like her in this because she's useless. And actually, here's the other thing. None of these characters really get... well, there is one cool thing. I'm not going to ruin the movie. The movie has some balls, I'll say that much, but it overall there's no character development. She's not giving anything to do, like, and she's a very emotional actress. Like, she can do, if you've ever seen Wonder Woman, she can just like give you a look, do this or that, and you're like, oh, fucking all right, I'm there. Like,
and she emotes well.
And in this she's got nothing to do.
That was my problem with Red Notice. I thought that she was just window dressing in that movie. So I was hoping that she would be a little harder edged here, something along the lines of what a Kate Beckinsale would be doing 20 years ago, or Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, I would rather have seen her built up as an Angelina Jolie, but because of the current climate where we cannot, or we aren't, for whatever reason, allowed to have action stars or movie stars in general, even though we still have them, we get shit like this.
Yeah, fodder for your Netflix account to scroll through and maybe be remembered. Just like that Jennifer Lopez one, to speak of her again, that Mother movie. that was popular for a few weeks and now
Yeah.
is forgotten. Unbelievable.
That one's far worse than this. So.
Well, I mean, let's talk about Michael Bay once again. Remember The Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds? I mean, when was the last time you revisited that?
And that one wasn't very good. I will never. It's not very good, but more importantly, that one as well. But now that I think back about it, like, that would have played way better in a theater.
I think so, too. I probably would have tolerated it more, strangely enough.
Yeah, I actually probably would have tolerated it more, even if I hadn't seen it in theater, knowing it went to a theater. Like, that's... Yeah, but the mindset when you watch a fucking movie makes a big difference, right? Like, I watched plenty of movies that weren't in a theater on a fucking full-frame VHS. So, for anyone trying to compare things like, movies made for the theater, and I've seen, like, some pretty dog shit stuff in my life that was meant to be seen on a big screen, and it plays just fine, but at least you have expectations. At least you know what you're getting, and so you can adjust for that. And for some of these movies, I don't know. I guess I don't get it. Like, are we just over theaters at this point? Are we done? Are we out? Are they gone?
Well, they're not gone because I was at it today and they were full because they was the $5 Tuesday. But I think that Netflix and these other companies should really consider releasing a lot of these, at least limitedly, because if we're having no movies come out because of this strike, and they're talking about pushing everything back, there's zero reason not to push these things out into the aisles of the theater.
It's digital. I don't think the movie would have done well. I'm not an insane person. Like, I don't think it would have done very well. But it's fucking digital, and there's nothing else playing.
That's what I mean.
You couldn't put this in like 800 theaters or something like that. Come on.
At this point, if the strike does hamper these releases and everything jumps off the calendar like they're predicting, you might see Barbie and Oppenheimer ruling the charts until Thanksgiving. I mean, honestly, that you really
Barbie for
might
sure.
see that.
God.
All right, let's move on and
it.
talk about Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. I saw this afternoon. Went to a 5:45 showing with somebody who was younger than I was, and it was an absolute shit show. $5 Tuesday, like I mentioned, should have known. There was I thought it was 4-year-olds. It was probably 4 to 7-year-olds in there. It was a birthday party. There was probably 20 of them.
Let's be honest. They were 15 and 16-year-olds.
And I gotta tell you, my favorite part of the movie wasn't even the movie. It was watching this kid who never sat down, running up and down the stairs the entire time, finally eat shit. And I gotta say, I think I may have willed it into existence because I was just looking at him going, God, I hope that kid eats shit. And then the kid ate shit, popped right back up, made eye contact, and then he ran off crying. So to me, that was the most satisfying point of the movie-going experience. The movie itself, I didn't really know what I was getting. I rewatched the live-action original 2014 one that Michael Bay produced, once again, that name, with Megan Fox. And I hadn't seen it since the theaters. Really enjoyed that, watching that last week. So I thought I'd give this one a try. And I don't know, as much as I was talking about the pandering needle drops, this is wall-to-wall with music that is absolutely meant for our generation, or quote-unquote the parents in the audience. The ninja rap with Vanilla Ice pops up, all sorts of pop culture references, Jackie Chan as the voice of Splinter. It's all over the place with wanting to be liked, and I guess the most appealing aspect of the movie is that these are truly teenagers. They are into the slang, the videotaping, and the plot comes down to them wanting ultimately to save prom. So I thought that was kind of cute, that it was almost an 80s comedy that about 4 teenagers and their goal is to save prom. Now, the bad stuff. It's made for a very young audience, so I'm clearly not the intended audience group for it. Also, it's got some characters that are highly deviated from what you would expect. I did like Ice Cube, though, as the voice of Superfly, the bad guy. I thought Rocksteady and Bebop were kind of a cock tease. They were thrown in at the end, and then you never really saw them again. And I was hoping Brain would make an appearance, but overall, it's a cute movie. I don't think that it's a necessary or vital entry into the Ninja Turtles canon. But for what is out and what I've seen kids' movies today, It's no Spider-Man from what I'm being told by the person I saw the movie with, but it was trying, I guess, awful hard to be. And I don't know, the animation style wasn't terrible. I thought it had a nice little sense of humor, and I was entertained for the 90 minutes that it was on. So I give it a modest recommendation, which is strange to say that I'm recommending the animated Turtles movie over everything else we've seen on today's show. I don't know, though. Would you have any interest in seeing this?
No, I'm not watching it. But that's in line with what everyone's saying. I've heard the animation's pretty shit looking, too.
I don't know. I don't know what to compare it to. It looks like claymation, like Chicken Run from years ago. Remember that movie?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's not... What's supposed to look like scribbles, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of the time. Well, there's even sequences that are like hand-drawn. There's almost like how Oliver Stone used different film stocks in his movies and different camera lenses. They do that when they're narrating something and they're showing the past. It does answer and bring up a lot of ironic questions that you never really thought of before. Like, why do they know martial arts, and this and that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That's not... See, that doesn't seem good to me. That's like the irreverent, bullshit.
Yeah. That's the postmodern take.
No, that's not... You're not a fucking fan of Ninja Turtles if you're making a movie and you're like, oh, well, why do they do this? The fuck do you mean? I could do that with every single fucking movie. That doesn't make you a fan. That doesn't make you... I don't know. There's something... Deadpool is fine, but I don't need that for every movie, And certainly they get away with it, but... I just feel like I'm not interested in that. I don't want to look at the past through today's lens. I don't care about that.
That's a good way to say it, because that's what this movie is.
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, I'm wearing a Krang shirt right now. So.
Oh shit! Well, I'm happy.
So that's interesting, but he's not in the movie.
He's not. But the villain is at least entertaining in it. I found it to be a very fleet 90 minutes for what it was, and especially with the commotion in the theater and the guy in front of me who was losing his shit with the people. I was just entertained with the whole experience, I should say, especially for $5 a pop. I can't complain. It was. What do I expect? A kids' movie on a Tuesday afternoon.
Well, some of the best Roger Ebert reviews were the ones where he talked about how he was so fucking annoyed in the theater by everyone else around him.
Yeah, I mean that was trying to find my cell phone that I dropped was more entertaining than certain parts. But regardless, let's move on and talk about the trailers on today's show. We're going to start off with talking about a TV trailer, which we normally don't do. We try to stay only films, but we're going to talk about the Continental, which is a continuation of the John Wick franchise, a 3-part TV series or television event, miniseries they used to call these.
Well, streaming.
Going to be on Peacock.
I don't know what you mean by TV. I think you mean
streaming. But, it's not meant for theatrical distribution. And this is a prequel series that is telling the story of Winston, who's... what's the actor that plays that role? I can't think of his name.
Oh, Shane...
guy
what is his name?
Deadwood.
Shane...
yeah. Good guy. Good actor.
I can't remember his last name.
I can't think of it either, but this is why we do a movie podcast, because we're Johnny on the spot with this kind of shit. But don't worry about it. That guy's his story. He's not in the fucking thing anyways.
I have to know now.
They removed that guy from the fucking the story anyway, because it's him as a younger man.
Well, he's old, yeah.
So I was going with this trailer.
Ian McShane.
Thank you very much.
Ian McShane.
He's been replaced. Mel Gibson is in the Ian McShane role, but... almost. I know, but technically not. But he's like the older
he's
elder
not, though.
At the Continental. It looks
he's like in charge. Right.
I was with this trailer. It's a 3-minute trailer. I was actually really. You said you got to watch this trailer. They're fucking it up. Not to give a spoiler alert on your review, but I watched it and I thought, oh, he's crazy. I like the first minute and a half of this trailer. The second they show him driving on the bridge with his brother in the car and they introduce all these other characters, I thought, where the fuck are we going with this thing? And I quickly started losing faith in the project. I'm going to watch it because I'm curious, but I thought initially what they were doing in that line with the girl and I haven't finished my drink, I liked that shit. That was very Kingsman to me. I thought this was what I wanted. But I thought, and even in the trailer, lost its way by the time it was done.
Yeah, this is just more noise. This is a cash-in. If you can't tell already, I guarantee you. And you can tell, just let alone by casting, this guy is nothing like the real Winston, and the character of Winston is nothing like what he's like in the show or in the movie. So sometimes they do this with the younger stuff. They change it all up in the prequels, and you're just like, well, how the fuck does this guy ever get to where he's this old guy, and sometimes they make that jump sometimes when they do these things, and it makes no sense, you know. And I just feel like this is just a reason to make a show that doesn't include any of the cast from the original, but we can just do a cheap little spin-off prequel thing, because you know they're already fucking making John Wick 5, so get ready for that. So they're going to beat this horse to death.
Well, they've done this notably with Hannibal, Bates Motel. I mean, they've done a lot of this kind of stuff over the years with these characters. But I agree with you. I don't see any semblance of the Winston, that Ian McShane character, that we see in the John Wick movies, because he's the one that's not. He upholds the rules. So why is he now breaking the rules? And what's up with these characters that he's bringing in? And look, like I said, I thought the first half of this trailer was very good. So hopefully those are the 2 episodes, and then it's just one bad episode.
I give it a shot, because who knows? You know, it's only 3. Well, I don't know how long. This is like a miniseries, like you say.
Like 6 hours.
This could be like. So I was going to say, I don't know how long this actually is. So I may be done. I may be one and done. I might be halfway through one and done, to be honest with you. Because I'm not fucking around anymore. I'm going to watch this whole thing. If it does what I think it's going to do, then I'm out. If it, you know, does better, then I'll watch the whole thing. But I mean, God, at this point, why? I don't need any more fucking John Wick. That's not John Wick. I just don't need this. Why can't you make an original fucking show that is this idea, but that has nothing to do with John Wick, and so it's this idea, and you don't have to fucking cram it into the John Wick world. You can just make something that's good. Like, why does everything have to be a fucking derivative of something else?
Yeah, it's because it's the identifiable IP, obviously, and I would imagine that they're going to release this in conjunction with putting John Wick 4 on Peacock at the same time, and try to push that whole thing.
At this point, like, clearly this is like a corporate scheme of no risk, right? But at this point, it almost feels like doing this gets more risky, or certainly riskier than it's ever been, ever. You know, and it's always been risky because people have expectations for things, and so you can just totally destroy a franchise and do it over and over and over again until essentially confidence is lost in the institution that is creating the fucking product, right?
Look at Marvel. Isn't that what we're getting right now?
Yes, I know. That's what's happening in general. That's why I'm saying this is just not a good idea to keep doing this.
I agree. You're getting the watered-down, diluted version of this, which is clearly what this looks like. It's John Wick on a budget, if anything else. All right, let's move on and talk about The Creator. This is the latest film from Gareth Edwards, the man behind Rogue One. And man, if this doesn't look like a Star Wars movie, I don't know what does. This looks like the Star Wars film you didn't know you ever wanted to see. To me, I was very, very taken by this trailer. I'm all in. This looks like vintage Neil Blomkamp, you know, District 9, was it District 9? Yeah. Elysium I had brought up earlier, mixed with a little Golden Child and a dash of Escape from New York. I think John David Washington is going to be a kick-ass action hero if he ever gets the right vehicle, and this looks like one of the ones that's going to set him on the way. Looks like a fun, entertaining B-movie type riff, and I'm all in. I really got excited by this trailer. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I'm gonna play the downer a little bit on this. I agree with you. I'm definitely watching this. I think this could be good. But again, I'm tired of these tropes. This movie's ultra serious. Like, why is it so fucking serious?
Have some fun. That's why I thought Escape from New York, because of the dourness.
Oh Lord, this is so fucking serious. And on top of that, you know, this is just iRobot. This is just this robot shit where someone has to, you know, I don't know, Babylon AD. Like, what the fuck? How many times can we redo this? And it doesn't seem like there's anything different in this to any degree. It's just going to be the same fucking thing over again. And I just find it hard to say this is original. There's nothing original in this other than it looks like a big budget movie. As you say, the acting looks pretty good. I mean, we got some good special effects and stuff. So I'm going to watch this. It'll probably be pretty good. I don't know. I demand more.
I'm just looking for escapist entertainment that isn't overblown at this point, and something that's not just 2 hours and 40 minutes with the destination of 4 more prequels and sequels to come. Give me a standalone, interesting story.
I agree. So that's something that this has.
I thought that this was like at least a story.
This feels like a one-off. This feels like a whole story. You get to watch it, the whole thing. That's why I'm saying this looks good. And as you said, it looks like the Star Wars you didn't want. It does have that Rogue One type look. But again, the Rogue One was supposed to be the Star Wars I didn't know I wanted. And yes, it was not the Star Wars that I wanted.
It was a shit show, and to no credit to Gareth Edwards, who was the credited director, because we know the history of that movie and how it basically stumbled its way into being successful.
You mentioned Elysium. I mean, Blomkamp, or whatever the hell his name is, Neil, he's had his own problems. Sci-fi is not an easy thing to do, especially if you fall into the tropes of stuff and you try to just make something that it easily preys on people's emotions, which this appears to do with the kid. Like, how at the end of it, like, what would you like? Oh, I just want robots to live free and be happy. We don't have any of that in the refrigerator. How about some ice cream? Is this little girl eating ice cream? She has no fucking neck. Like, I'm sorry, but what fucking, like, seriously? Like, that's such a fucking, whatever, That's why it's like, what are you doing, guys? God.
Well, I mean, obviously we're talking about a trailer, so things could be out of context and in order, but good point on that. But I do want to see this, and I will be watching this. At very least, it turns into a fun B-movie a la 65, or something like that, along those lines. No Escape, one of those kind of second-tier sci-fi movies.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. That would be the hopeful that I would have in this, because I don't think it's going to be good much beyond that. I mean, this is the problem that 65 had, was that it tried to have a fucking emotional story background, and it was just like, God, this is unnecessary.
Also had a great actor in the lead role, basically someone overqualified for that material.
Yeah, and this kind of as well. Some that might be the saving grace of this, though, too, for the creator, because that was the saving grace of 65. So it might be the same thing for this. And 65 really is this fucking movie, really, when you think.
I know, that's what I was thinking of when I was watching it.
I mean, so over and over again, same fucking movie.
Let's just hope it doesn't.
Man, I'm just a little tired.
I don't want to see another Babylon AD. How about that? I hope it doesn't turn into that.
I'm tempted to rewatch lately. I'm ready for it. It's so bad, it's good.
It's awful. It's fucking horrendous, bro. The movie never gets better.
I remember, it's horrendous. I remember you rented that movie over and over again. You finally fucking just had to. You couldn't even return the Redbox rental because you had it for so long.
It's horrendous, that fucking thing. I think it's around here somewhere, too.
You must have watched the shit
I do. I watch it every couple of years and go, yep, still fucking sucks. Getting my money out of it, though. All right, let's talk about Equalizer 3, the latest in the unlikely trilogy of the Denzel Washington, Antoine Fuqua action series. This is really Denzel's only franchise and one of his biggest money earners, and a really interesting late in his career hit for this series to go. I really liked the first one. The second one I thought dipped a little bit in quality, but was still pretty entertaining. And this third one, I don't know if it's the change of setting or what, but this third one looks fantastic. I might be just action starved, but I thought there's a lot of Tony Scott, Tony Scott touches. I don't mean.
Didn't you feel like Creasy might have another masterpiece?
I think. Well, not only is Dakota Fanning in that shot, which gives you the Man on Fire reference.
Oh, did that not fucking sell that though?
Totally. But I'm not talking about Man on Fire Tony Scott in the visual sense. I'm talking about Revenge Tony Scott, where we're getting those smoky rooms with the really overexposed, sun-drenched look. I thought, man, this looks like early Tony Scott. I'm all fucking in on this one.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is Fuqua was back.
I agree.
I don't know where the fuck he went, but now he's fucking back. I love some Fuqua shit. And so yeah, I'm ready for it. This looks really fucking good. I think this trailer's kind of dog shit. Like the first quarter of this trailer is confusing and kind of just a bunch of fucking noise and nonsense. But once you get past that and it actually gets into the storyline and what's happening and everything, yeah, man, it's a Man Apart-esque type thing, and he's doing his Denzel thing. Like, I don't know, I like it. I think it's gonna be good.
It's at least going to be a breath of fresh air from what we've currently seen. I like this character. I think he does well with it. It's weird that this franchise is running while there is a television show with Queen Latifah running simultaneously. Not usually don't see a.
Is that still
I think
on?
it is. Yeah, I think it does well too. It's strange that you see a big screen franchise and a television series though running concurrently. You don't know. This is in name only. As Equalizer, he is not doing any equalizing other than standing up for bullying.
We'll know how bullshit corporate Hollywood is if they give any sort of a nod to Queen Latifah in this movie.
Oh, fuck.
Which that might fucking happen, man. There might be a little wink here. And if that happens, I will burn the fucking theater down.
You think he dies at the end and then she comes on the scene and takes over?
Oh, okay. If that happens, we'll build the theater back up because that would be fucking amazing.
And we find out
that would be so far over.
We find out this was all a prequel that runs up to the television show, so it's all interconnected.
Okay, that would be. You got me back now. That's complete dog shit. That's so good that I'm like, yeah, all right, you own that.
I pulled you back in. I'm happy about that. Yeah, I'm excited about this one though, and I'm happy that they're not shuffling the release date on this. This is going to stick to its September release date. It's not blinking in the eye of the strikes and the fact
it's not a great release date.
It's not, but at the same time, the calendar is going to be open.
I guess they could technically push it. They could push it into next year. I mean, the interesting thing is that, like as you said, like there's going to obviously they're pushing things around right now, but they could wind up in a position where they have streaming stuff that they release theatrically. It could go the opposite direction.
Yeah, strangely enough, which would be the opposite of what they want, the parties that are striking. Okay, let's talk about Dune Part 2, which is another film. I think it's slated for November 3rd, and there's already talk that this is going to be pushed back. I think it officially has been pushed back to next spring. At least that was what they were discussing, like a March release.
I was going to say, that's like fucking March. I don't know.
That's what I heard. So, but unless there's...
You got to release this over December.
I think so too. I think this is a
you're wasting your time if you don't put this out over Christmas.
Cold weather movie is what I call this because it's going to be a long one. Mm-hmm. It looks like it's very, very dense. It looks at least to me like it's going to be a better story. I mean, this is the meat of the story that I like as opposed to the first one.
This looks like masturbation. Let's be honest. It's like the meat. Yeah, exactly. They're beating the meat. This is the masturbation fucking movie. I mean, I've seen the first fucking movie. What more is this going to do?
Well, he rides the worm and he turns the eyes blue and he becomes the fucking prophecy.
Sounds like he's masturbating to me.
I agree. It's all riding the worm. All of it though is part of the novel, and that they are taking the time. My problem with this is that I don't find
one movie. They did this before in one movie. Why the fuck is this two movies? And there's long movies.
And they could have wrapped it up neatly in the first one. I thought that I didn't think the first one was all that great. I'm
surprised they didn't go for 3. Personally, they're actually being good by just doing 2.
Oh well,
movies.
There's how many books there are. There's Son of Dune and all that shit too. So.
There are, but I can't imagine that. Well, actually,
that's what they'll do.
These haven't done that bad.
And they're doing a prequel series on HBO, I believe, with the Nun Sisterhood or whatever that religious sect is that they have in there. So,
Lord.
Well, that doesn't surprise you, right? They're doing the Penguin as well, so that's what HBO is doing. Yeah, the Penguin's coming out soon.
Oh, you're right. They're doing
the Peacemaker. They're doing all that shit. So
I don't know, guys. Look, I don't know, man. I'm getting a little chock full of shit.
The Peacemaker was better than the Suicide Squad, in my opinion. That show.
Oh, the Peacemaker is great. So I'm ready for more of that, but at the same time, I don't know, more. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it gets a little overwhelming with all this shit.
How much Dune can you watch? Like, it's really not that interesting.
Visually, it's not even that interesting. And I know that, like...
Jesus, have you read the books?
I did the audiobook. I couldn't even get... to be honest, I had to do the audiobook, and it was a slug to get through that. It was a slug.
Yeah, there's like... the Lord of the Rings are bad enough as books, as far as I'm concerned. Like, they get rough, especially in the
Dune
Two Towers
is twice
and stuff.
as dense.
But... No, bro. It's not the Sicilian, but I remember what the fucking there's another book that Tolkien wrote that's about like the elves.
You're not talking about.
It's not
You're not talking about The Hobbit, obviously.
What is that book called? No.
I don't know.
I have it here. Actually, it's not in this room. It is. It's like reads like a history. It's like fucking. Dude, it's so fucking.
Just sandpaper. I'm good. I don't want to. Yeah.
It's just. Oh my god. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like there's some of the shit where it's just like, okay, you have built a world that is too fucking thought out Like, I just am not. It's like Star Wars Episode 2. I'm not that
Do you know what
interested.
I was thinking about the other day is that, you know, the appeal of the original Star Wars and certain stuff, and even Aliens to some extent, is that they would hint at larger worlds a lot of the time. It would be a throwaway line of dialogue. And that shit,
That's
you
what
would
you
fill
want.
in with
That's
your
it.
imagination what that could have been.
Yes.
But now that everything's put to you, fuck, we didn't see Jabba for 2 movies. We heard about him, but we didn't see him. You know, it's like there's certain stuff, you know, you saw Boba Fett for a flash in this movie, and we all loved him, and things like that. You know, it just even in the first John Wick, a lot of that shit was successful because they were alluding to things. They were alluding to a bigger world.
It was only an hour and a half
But
long.
also,
You have to know what's important. You got to get rid of the fucking fat. You
Which
know,
this movie, Dune 2, getting back to that, looks like it's not going to be. I look for the running time on this. They haven't released what the actual running time is going to be. I'm guessing this is a 3-hour situation here.
yeah.
But hey, it's got all the trappings of the big budget spectacle, and I'm sure if you love sci-fi, this is right up your alley. It looks dense to me.
The special effects are great. I mean, the special effects in the first Dune were the star of that fucking movie, as far as
So
I'm
was the
concerned.
music. I thought the score was really good, but I
Sure.
thought that
Go along with
visually
that.
the desert setting got really uninteresting, and I just don't find Timothée Chalamet or Zendaya that captivating as lead actors. I really don't.
No kidding. And they are both tiny people.
Not only that, the second somebody comes on screen like a Josh Brolin, it just, you feel like, oh, that's the adult in the room. That's the actor.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. They're tiny people. Like, they're not. It's not just. I mean, they're like stick people, but they're also tiny. They're built like children.
Kyle MacLachlan,
and they're not
from
children.
the 1984 film, wasn't.
Was a bigger
He
regular
was, but
person.
he wasn't the most masculine man in the world. But he felt like at least
But
he
the
could be a
part's
hero.
not supposed to be. But you're right. But he could have. He was able to fulfill those shoes later on in that movie. He was able to build into that. This is more this bullshit where someone with zero muscle mass is somehow able to flip people around with no
And
problem.
I believe Jason Momoa's character even made an allusion or a comment to that in the first film. You know, oh, I've been gone, and you still haven't put on any muscle. Because this little waif of a character is supposed to be our fearless leader, but this is the casting we got to go with. This is what they've given us. Okay, let's move on and talk about the last film on tonight's podcast, and that is Slotherhouse. I'm going to let you do the lead-in on this because this is your baby. You told me to watch this, and then I'll give my opinion on it.
Yeah, I came across this on Twitter. This is an absolutely ridiculous horror movie. It's only rated PG-13, so it's not super gory, but it seems, I don't know, pretty gory for PG-13. But it's essentially about a sloth that goes on a rampage through a house and kills a bunch of people. I don't want to give too much away because I think you should watch the trailer. It's only a minute long. It doesn't take up much of your time. But it looks like a lot of fun. There was a movie that came out about 10 years ago called Zombievers, which I also recommend, which is about zombie beavers. And it was a lot of fun. And this movie looks like something within that vein, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. So I think this is going to be fun.
It also reminds me of Cooties. Remember that movie that came out a couple years back?
Yep, there's another one. Yeah, there's lots of them.
You know, I do acting and whatnot, and this looks like the level of production that I would be able to get on at this point. So I was actually kind of into what was happening in this movie, and I thought it looked fun. It's fucking stupid. Let's be honest here. A sloth that moves at a snail's pace is.
It's super slow and it's killing everybody. But that's, again, a trope of horror movies like Friday the 13th, right?
Can it be any worse than Snakes on a Plane? I don't think so. I think it might even be more interesting than Snakes on a Plane. We're in this era when we have these attacking animal movies that are always big, and something like this that looks like it has a sense of humor and I don't know, just a little sense of mischief to it is kind of what I got from this, especially when the guy said, oh, it's a slaughterhouse, you know, and they all groaned. I thought, at least we know what we're doing here. I don't know. I thought I can't recommend the trailer necessarily, but I think that I would give this a watch if you told me it wasn't a complete waste of fucking time. Is that a recommendation? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the level of this movie. So, this could be terrible. You know, it could be horribly boring. Horror movies are like that. Could also be a lot of fun.
I'm glad I watched the trailer at least because I would have never known what a slaughterhouse was, and it's good to know what the kids are up to these days, what they're watching and what they're doing. It could be worse. It could be Terrifier 2, right? I mean, that's a fucking brutal one. This looks.
You went to TMNT. You saw what the kids are watching.
Yeah, the trailers, too, for what's coming out. My goodness, the Paw Patrol movie. I mean, when I saw a trailer for the Paw Patrol movie, I thought, oh, I'm in deep shit.
Oh, my God. That was on the... Wait, is there going to be a theatrical Paw Patrol movie?
It's coming out, I think, soon.
Wow.
And something called Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh, good
Not
for
Freddy
the
Got
kids.
Fingered, my goodness.
That's already...
That's a different kid's movie.
Wow, is that a sequel?
Five Nights at Freddy. Something to do with that.
Tom Green's back. Oh, yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. Have you seen the trailer for that? We should watch that next time. It looks fucking horrendous.
We caught the end of it as we were walking in. And then I got to see the Blue Beetle trailer for the 90th time, which nobody gave a shit about in the theater.
You saw, remember the Nicolas Cage one where he works in the...
Yeah, Willy's Wonderland.
Kids thing, Willy's Wonderland. That's based or comes from that Five Nights at Freddy's. Is really that video game stuff. They made that one. They made another one, Banana Splits or whatever. Both of those look way better than that fucking trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's. They did Five Nights dirty.
Huh. I'll definitely check it out and talk about that on the next episode because I don't have any frame of reference of what the source material is. So I'm kind of curious because it was.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
It was being explained to me, and I thought, yeah, it sounds like that Nicolas Cage movie, so that makes a lot of sense. All right, well, that's going to wrap up tonight's show. We want to thank you guys for joining us. As always, check out our past episodes on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you may be getting this podcast. Like, rate, review the show. It's always appreciated. Speaking for Trevor Anderson, I am Jason Rugard, and we are the Movie Mavericks.
Oh my, another magnificent episode has come to an end. If you're craving more, set your destination to MovieMavericks.com. Warp 9. Engage!